Hello YouTube and welcome to GosuGamers Top 5 Plays. For our number 5 spot we see Imaginary Gaming Heroes versus Well Met in a closely tight match. Well Met got a slight advantage and decides to shove down the mid lane with Chin leading the way for the 5-2 engage. After the mid fort falls, they decide to switch to the top fort and get a little bit of damage in before deciding to fall back. IGM chases after them and the fight breaks out. Murden jumps in and stuns Chin as he tries to escape. A quick polymorph and a body block by Anubarak traps Chin and he's forced to jump over in order to escape. IGM continues the chase as Malfurion does everything possible to keep Chin up and Malfurion ends up going down. Chin looks like he is about to escape, but a perfectly timed polymorph by Brightwing locks up Chin and he ends up going down as well. Brightwing's polymorph cancels out any movement action you had done prior, so you actually have to click again in order to move. In our number 4 spot, we see Cloud9 Maelstrom versus Complexity Gaming. Cloud9 on the blue team and Complexity on the red. A match that was plagued by connection issues. You can actually see Karrakin disconnect, reconnect, they pause the game, make sure everybody is good before continuing on. However, disconnecting and immediately reconnecting wasn't always the case, as you see ETC King Caffeine actually disconnect, they pause the game and he is unable to get in because the game desynced. Desynchronization is an issue going on where you disconnect and you cannot reconnect into the game because it's actually still in progress and your game locks itself up. This in particular is a case of the bot absolutely working perfectly. ETC the bot moves in, gets a perfectly timed mosh pit, stunning 3 members of Complexity, and still manages to escape. They continue to shove later on in the game, and despite being a team member down, Cloud9 Maelstrom takes down Complexity Gaming. Cloud9 did an excellent job of controlling their bot AI and having them follow Malfurion and pinging him back and forth to return him to base, freelance as needed, and ensure that he follows the team where they're supposed to. In our number 3 spot, we see XESC versus AP Heroes. AP Heroes is pushing to capture XESC's Siege Giants, but they're able to hold them off. AP Heroes decides to contest the Siege Giants, and Tyrael goes in for the hard engage. All the team members of XESC jump into the fight, and Zagara casts a maul, but it's only able to hold off Vala's damage. Now AP Heroes is going into full retreat. They're doing everything they can to take down XESC as they chase them down. AP Heroes ends up losing 3 of their team members while trying to contest the Giants. Falstad jukes upward and heads for the top lane in order to put pressure on XESC as they shove down the mid lane. Falstad sees that top and mid lane have 2 big minion waves coming through, so he's going to try and push those to put pressure on the core to get anybody from XESC to come back in order to delay damage to the core. Unfortunately, it is too late. XESC put damage down on the core and able to take the win despite being behind for a great majority of the match. In our number 2 spot, we have another portion of the Imaginary Gaming Heroes versus Well Met match. About 23 minutes in, 2-2 on tributes, and Imaginary Gaming Heroes has a slight lead over Well Met. Well Met engages on their boss, and IMG is going for theirs as well. Tribute spawns right next to IMG's boss, giving them a huge advantage in order to take the curse. Well Met finishes their boss just as Tribute comes up, and IMG has theirs at about half health. Anubarak grabs the Tribute and is able to start the curse for IMG. Well Met seems to not care about the curse and are going for the all-in engage in top lane. IMG sees this happening and goes and returns to base, and here comes the engage. Well Met is pushing with their boss. Just as Anubarak moves in, Chin pops barrel. Jaina starts to rain down the damage. A huge silence, the maw from Zagara. Falstad casts his Hinterland Blast and immediately gets web wrapped by Anubarak. And Anub takes on Chin for the 1-on-1, gets rooted and ends up going down. Falstad comes up and starts to shove IGM back. The boss is on the core, and they continue to do as much damage as possible to the core while staying alive. Unfortunately, the only person left alive is Zagara. IMG's boss has just reached Well Met's core. There's nothing Well Met can do. They're completely wiped. They went in for the all-in, but unfortunately, IMG's tight defense was able to hold off Well Met's attempt. And for the number 1 spot, we see Under Construction versus Diablo Snores. Diablo Snores is 4 to 5 levels behind, but they go to prove that backdooring is still alive and works really well in a pinch. As Under Construction shoves the bottom lane, ETC goes in for the stage dive, Brightwing teleports in, and Falstad comes in as well. Zagara tunnels in, and Zeratul stealths his way all the way to the core. All 5 members of Diablo Snores are on the core and force Under Construction to come back in order to prevent the win. They're doing lots of damage to the core, but unfortunately end up falling. You think they would stop, right? It's not going to stop them in the slightest. They go in for another attempt. Zeratul stealthing all the way up to the core as ETC stage dives. Brightwing teleports in and Zagara comes in as well. Again, they wait for the engage on the core until Under Construction is in the bottom lane and trying to shove. Zeratul pops Void Prison in order to prevent Uther from coming in and doing damage, and they're driving the core down. They're able to get to 20%, 10%, all the way down to 7%, and it is still alive. Now, you know the old saying, right? Third time's the charm. If you look closely at the minimap, Brightwing and ETC are in the mid lane trying to start an engage while Zeratul is stealthing up to the core. The fight breaks out in the mid lane and Zeratul is standing at the core waiting. Zagara tunnels in and Zagara starts to tank the core as Zeratul and Zagara kick up the damage. Zeratul once again pops Void Prison in order to keep some of the DPS off of them, and they're able to get core down to 3%. Under Construction gets Dragon Knight, and now it becomes a base race, 2% to a full health core. Under Construction starts doing as much damage as possible on Diablo Snores' core. Falstad stays and provides defense. ETC stage dives in, and Brightwing immediately teleports in once again to provide heals to ETC as they start to do damage. Zeratul pops Void Prison in order to prevent the last bit of damage going on to their core, and Diablo Snores is able to take it even while they're 5 levels behind. If you like this video and you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. This has been Snuggy, and we'll catch you again next week.